His efforts have positioned him at the forefront of health science, transforming how we understand and approach the maintenance of our health. Without further ado, we welcome for the first time Dr. Robert O. Young. Thanks for making time for us, Doctor. Welcome.
It's my honor, my pleasure. Thank you for having me on your platform.
Well, you know, when I read that, you're most welcome. The thing about how we understand and approach the maintenance of our health, and you being so deeply into research focusing on the cellular level, and in 94, you made this groundbreaking discovery regarding the biological transformation of red blood cells, which has been documented in notable scientific journals. And, I look at the American diet and go, wow, the human body is really a remarkable machine to be able to survive at all, given the bombardment that it's under from the air, the food, and the water. So I just have to ask this question. What was your inspiration to go into this rather complex full immersion field to begin with?
Well, it happened line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. It evolved. It was like I spent the first 29 years of my life, the most important 2 days of your life is when you're born and the day you find out. And I didn't find out until I got into my 30s. I was enjoying life and playing amateur and professional sport and, living the good life. But I got bored. I really didn't tie down to my passion and my love, which was to really understand how the human body works. Growing up as a young boy, this understanding the anatomy and physiology of the body was something I was always interested in. And I thought about becoming a medical doctor, and I was encouraged to go down that line, but I chose another path, and that was professional sport, and I retired at 29, stayed retired for 1 year, and then went back to school again. And when I went back to school, I was looking for something that would really educate me in a field that I was interested in. And some of the areas that I focused on was yes, nutrition, that led me into colloidal chemistry, that led me into biology, that led me to Essen, Germany, and studying with Marie Blecher, a protege of Gunther Enderlin. And the reason that was significant, and we're talking about the 80s here, is I learned a principle that's really, really important. And I think if people could just understand this simple principle, and the basis of physics is that there's nothing constant other than change. And when we look at a body cell, a blood cell, that blood cell has the ability to change. And what most people don't know is the red blood cell can become other types of cells. It is blood that differentiates into muscle, into bone, into skin, into every organ of the human body. So the quality of the blood is so significant. And when I was in Germany studying and learning about microscopy and microbiology and this new way of living, and literally learning the concepts of biological transformation and seeing it under the microscope at very high magnification and resolution. And you mentioned 1994, where I documented the change of a red blood cell into an anthrax bacteria. I later documented the fact that cells give birth to not only bacteria, but it can evolve into yeast and then into mold. And to really grasp that concept of change, isn't that what happens? And why we put food in the refrigerator so it won't spoil?
Right.
And the reason, and when we see things spoiling, we don't say to ourselves, "Oh, that food has been infected. You know, that food is transforming. It's giving birth to bacteria. It's giving birth to yeast." So when we talk about things like a bacterial infection, I had to change the whole language from infection to outfection. And an important thing I want everyone to understand who's listening is disease, dis-ease, imbalance. Dis-ease is imbalance. And dis-ease or imbalance begins within, not from without. We don't catch a cold. We don't catch the flu. These are symptoms of the body trying to purify itself to restore this most important design, which is alkaline, an alkaline design of our body fluids. When I wrote the book, The pH Miracle, and then later revised it in 2010, what I wanted people to understand is that bacteria and yeast and mold are symptoms of cellular breakdown due to a pollution. It could be chemical, it could be radioactive, but a physical disturbance which gave rise to cellular transformation, that gave rise to the birth of other forms as part of the cycle of matter. That matter cannot be created, nor can it be destroyed. All it can do, matter can only change, because that's the only thing in life that is constant. So I love this quote by Dr. Alexis Carrel. I don't know if you know Dr. Alexis Carrel.
I know the name, but maybe she might have been on the program before. That sounds awfully familiar.
Well, he actually passed in the early 1900s, but he received the Nobel...
that would preclude that, wouldn't it? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, he received a Nobel Prize in Medicine many years after his death for discovering the longevity of the human cell. And this is so important, and nobody hears about this. What did he find? What he discovered is how to keep a body cell alive forever. Forever. And what he did is he did an experiment. He took a chicken heart, and every 24 to 48 hours, he would change the fluids in which that heart was beating in, because when it's beating, it's using electrical energy, and that electrical energy produces an acidic waste, and he would have to change that. If he didn't, the heart would die. But what's so miraculous about this is he kept a chicken heart alive outside the human body, outside the chicken body, for 20 years. Wow. Until he decided he had sung happy birthday to this heart for 20 years. That was enough. Right. So he was going to pull the plug. So here is the quote. And I want people to just think about this, because I know what I tell you is new. It's different. But it will change. It will save your life and change your life if you understand what I'm teaching you tonight, what I'm sharing with you tonight. And I do it with love, and I do it in faith. And faith is an acronym which stands for First Attribute in Thinking Healthy. So here is the quote from Dr. Alexis Carrel. The cell is immortal. It is merely the fluid in which it floats which degenerates. Renew this fluid at intervals. Give the cell something on which to feed, and so far as we know, the pulsation of life may go on forever. close quote.
Wow.
Now, this is so important because what it tells me, what I get from this, and maybe others will agree, what I get from this quote is death is a choice that we've accepted without understanding that if we get off a die it and start going towards a live it and realize that cells are internal because it's made up of a tiny, intelligent, anatomical element that is the precursor to everything. God called it dust. Antoine Béchamp, the French medical doctor and scientist, called it the microzyma. My protege, Marie Blecker, she called it the protein. All of these different names for the same thing. Even your DNA is made up of this indestructible matter because after cremation, if that is something that is done, there is a material that is intelligent, that is indestructible, that has the ability to organize or disorganize based on its environment. So the reason why what I'm saying is so important because it goes to the heart of every so-called, and I put so-called emphasis, of every so-called disease and sickness that is being treated with irrespect or disrespect of this understanding or a lack of this understanding that the cell is made up of an indestructible material that can change or alter if we simply manage the environment. So when I wrote my book, The pH Miracle, revised in 2001, in 2010 I revised it. One of the most important stories that I tell is called the fishbowl story. And the fishbowl story asks a question, and I'll ask you this question. If a fish is sick in the bowl or the aquarium that's swimming in, what would you do? Would you treat the fish or would you change the water?
I'm thinking I'd change the water.
What would your doctor do?
Oh, he'd treat the fish.
And the fish would die.
Every time.
Yes, because the fish is only as healthy as the water it swims in. Now, let's relate that specifically to the human cell that makes up all your organs and glands and tissues. If you have a heart problem, it's not a problem with the heart. It's a problem with the fluids that surround all the cells that make up the heart. In other words, there is this largest organ of the human body. And if I was to ask you a question here, what do you think is the largest organ of the human body? And what would all those who are listening, what would they say? They would say the skin. But it is not. There is an organ that I learned when I was in school in Germany from my professor, Dr. Marie Blecker, who was a medical doctor and a researcher, who taught me at a very early age about an organ that I knew nothing about. And in English translation, it's called the colloidal connective tissue of the shod. In 2018, some scientists from the United States published a paper on the largest organ of the body, and it was not the skin. They called it the interstitium, which contains a fluid called the interstitial fluid. The The interstitial fluid are the fluids that surround every single cell of the body. Now, if you're staying with me on this, I'm going to say this. That fluid is an ocean of water. It makes up 80% of the extracellular fluids, where the vascular fluids only make up 20%. And yet all of our diagnostics are generally made off blood tests. And yet it's disregarding the largest organ of the human body, where all of this imbalance begins. It's where your cells are, not blood cells. Blood goes to these organs to differentiate into new liver and new bone. But it is in that environment that determines your longevity. Or if you have a serious health challenge, the reversal of that. And my team that I work with of other scientists, we spoke about this and have spoke about it for many, many years to try to educate people on the largest organ of the human body, which I refer to as the body ocean, because guess what? The pH is identical to the ocean. It's different than the vascular fluids. The pH of the vascular fluids that are at 7.365 at negative 20 millivolts. The interstitial fluids that surround the cell, like the ocean, are at 8.4 at negative 80 millivolts. That's why when we go into the ocean, we feel so good, because that is the ideal environment that our cells should be bathing in. Now, here's the good news that I want to share with everyone. You can literally take control of your health by doing a simple test daily that will test the interstitial fluid. And like managing an aquarium or managing a swimming pool so it doesn't build up with algae or other morbid forms, all you have to do is test the interstitial fluid. And here is the big wow. The interstitial fluids release themselves through perspiration and urination primarily. So when you're testing your urine, you're testing the fluids that surround the cells. And when people are sick, or if they're having health challenge or lots of energy, or if they're dealing with a degenerative condition, if they would just simply take some pH hydrant paper, which costs pennies, or a strip, and test their urine and manage that urine at a pH of 8.4, the cell would live forever.
No. When you say when you manage the pH, how do you manage the pH in urine? What do you mean by that?
What I mean by it is when you test the urine, it's going to give you a color on a color scale.
Right.
And so that color should ideally show to a dark green to a blue. 99% of the people that are listening to this program today, if they were to test their urine first thing in the morning, will have either no color at all or it'll be just slightly green, because people don't manage the alkaline design of the body ocean. They haven't been taught that it's necessary to test their urine, much like a pool guy who goes out and tests the swimming pool pH and manages that. You do the same thing for you. You see, when you can manage those fluids, you are dealing with the foundation of where health begins, or where dis-ease begins. So here is another big statement. We currently teach in medical school, doctors, that cancer is a disease of the breast tissue, or a disease of the prostate tissue, or a disease of the liver tissue, or the brain, depending on what name you attach to it.
Right.
Totally false.
Now, I have to get this one off the table. Now, a couple of things. One is, so you're indicating that the correct pH is the same pH that the actual ocean has, but this goes more to the universality of the necessary pH rather than a suggestion that, hey, we really did crawl out of the ocean, right?
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. Okay. What I'm suggesting is that we have some connections to things within our own creation. In other words, in our own creation, we have some attributes like fish who swim in an environment of 8.3 to 8.4. And if that pH would to drop down to 7.9, all the ocean fish would die, or they would have to adjust to that. And that's what the body does. It adjusts to it, but it takes life out of your years and years off your life.
Wow. I don't believe I've ever had a conversation like this, ever. And when we come back, I've made a note here to ask Dr. Robert O. Young, what is this about ingesting alkaline water? Some people think they can change the pH of the entire body by drinking alkaline water. I would think, not being a doctor, but I would think that the stomach would do some adjustment to the pH on its way to the cells. But in any case, we'll get deeper into this. Have you ever heard anything like this in your life? I haven't. I really haven't. But that's why we are here, to discuss things we haven't heard either at all or very often, and then just pieces. This is Caravan.
Higher performance.
Do you feel tired from morning till night? Do you have frequent headaches, dizziness, brain fog, irritability? How about insomnia? How about constipation? What about cracking lips and hands, dry eyes or dry mouth? Indigestion, muscle cramps, elevated heart rate, urinary tract infections, difficulty losing weight, even bad breath. You're probably suffering from dehydration. 100% of Americans are dehydrated. 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. Go to fuelup.gg/John B and take advantage of the amazing special waiting there for caravanners. Fuelup.gg/John B. Dehydration is always a problem. Summer heat makes it worse. Go to fuelup.gg/John B. You'll feel the difference, or you'll get your money back, no questions asked. Fuelup.gg/John B. Hydration all the way down to the cellular level. Fuelup.gg/John B. Did I mention fuelup.gg/John B? Thought I did. Thanks.
You know, it's true.
Welcome to the Commonwealth Minute. Here's your host, Richard Nelson.
Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr recently introduced the Building Civic Bridges Act, or BCPA, to enable communities to foster civility and break down the walls of hostility. It's evident to all of us that our nation and Commonwealth are terribly divided. An NBC News poll recently revealed that 70% of Americans believe that our deep divisions will prevent us from addressing the major issues of the day. Congressman Barr said that our nation was founded on civic engagement and rigorous debate to achieve the ultimate good. The BCPA will help achieve this goal by supporting programs and research that aim at civic bridge building and community reconciliation. This bill is much needed in our divided nation, as dialogue and civility are good for all of us.
Find us on Facebook and Twitter at CPC4 Kentucky and on the web at CommonwealthPolicyCenter.org.
A new study finds that a child's race, ethnicity, and/or home neighborhood had a strong impact on their survival and recovery after a cardiac arrest. The study found that black children have more than a 4-fold higher risk of out-of-hospital cardiac arrest than white and Hispanic children, and they are also 26% less likely to survive than white and Hispanic children. Dr. Cody Gathers of Children's Hospital of Philadelphia led the study.
CPR is an important determinant in cardiac arrest survival, and black children do not receive CPR after cardiac arrest as frequently and have much lower rates of survival after cardiac arrest. These disparities indicate a need for increased resources for CPR and survival programs in higher-risk communities.
About 7,000 infants and children have a cardiac arrest each year in the United States. The study was presented at the American Heart Association's Scientific Sessions 2023. Sponsored by the American Heart Association.
The
WZXI Lancaster, 1280 AM and simulcasting on 94.1 and 95.5.
USA News, I'm Tim Berg. The search is continuing for missing people after a Baltimore bridge collapsed early Tuesday morning after a container ship crashed into it. Maryland Democratic Governor Wes Moore saying that more people may still be missing.
We are still actively looking for survivors. We know, and that's the pledge we've made to these families, and this is still very much an active search and rescue mission.
This is Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says the federal government will help in any way it can.
The federal government will provide all of the support that they need for as long as it takes.
Technologist, attorney, and entrepreneur Nicole Shanahan has officially been announced as the running mate of independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
Among other things, she has used over the past several years cutting-edge technology, including AI, to calculate the catastrophic health consequences of toxins in our soil, our air, our water, and our food.
House Republicans will soon have a one-seat majority after Wisconsin Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher announced he would resign in April. Speaking about the move on Fox Business, Iowa Republican Congressman Ashley Hinson says the congressman's resignation is another symbol of the dysfunction in Washington.
I'm very frustrated by how things have played out in the last year. We have to govern in divided government, and that's very difficult.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is meeting on Tuesday with his Israeli counterpart to discuss the ongoing war in Gaza. Austin speaking about the meeting from the Pentagon.
Mr. Minister, I look forward to discussing how we can dramatically and urgently ease the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
This is USA News.
Omaha Steaks is rewriting the book on burgers with an all-new handmade texture for the juiciest home-style burgers you've ever tasted. Their pure ground burgers are made from single cuts of real aged Omaha steaks. These are truly steaks on a bun. Filet mignon, ribeye, New York strip, sirloin, and even brisket burgers. Now is the time to experience the exclusive Burger Perfection Flight for just $79.99. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code TREAT at checkout to get an extra $20 off your order, plus free shipping. You'll get 4 of each pure ground burger, so you can sample all the steak on a bun greatness. These burgers are crafted for a juicier, more tender experience, making your mouth water with every single bite. Don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com, use promo code TREAT at checkout, and get $20 off the Burger Perfection Flight, and discover your new burger obsession. Minimum order may be required.
A New York judge is once again taking away former President Donald Trump's First Amendment rights by imposing a gag order regarding a hush money trial going on in New York. The order prohibits Trump from publicly commenting on witnesses, prosecutors, and court staff. Texas public safety commanders say their officers will only be allowed to make arrests when they see illegal immigrants crossing the Rio Grande River into Texas illegally. USA's Ryan Daniels.
A spokesman for the Texas Department of Public Safety clarified Monday how state officers would approach enforcement of the new Texas immigration law being challenged in court. However, opponents say promises like that do not square with what's written in the law. They claim Texas state officers will still be able to profile people on the streets in Texas if they see fit to do so. A federal appeals court has put the law on hold as lawsuits play out.
Pro-Palestinian protesters interrupted President Biden's remarks on health care in North Carolina on Tuesday. During an event in Raleigh, the protesters shouting, "What about health care in Gaza?" and hospitals in Gaza are being bombed.
Be patient with them. They have a point. We need to get a lot more care into the hospital.
Demonstrators are calling for an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war and have frequently interrupted democratic events. For USA News, I'm Tim Berg.
Have you ever picked up a towel set because it felt really soft in the store, but then when you go to use it, it's not very absorbent? That's why MyPillow has developed the MyPillow towels. Towels that work. The 6-piece towel set includes 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths. And right now you can receive a 6-piece set for only $39.98 with promo code USA. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener special, and enter promo code USA, or call 800-951-8175. That's MyPillow.com, promo code USA.
WZXI area weather. Tonight, slight chance of showers between 8 and 2 a.m. Partly cloudy, low around 42. Mostly sunny on Wednesday, high near 59. Partly cloudy Wednesday night with a nighttime low of 34. Sunshine Thursday, high near 58. Clear skies Thursday night with an overnight low of 35. Sunshine on Friday with a high near 65. Scattered clouds Friday night with a low around 46. Sunshine Saturday with a high near 70 degrees.
The Kentucky Department for Community-Based Services is hiring. DCBS invites you to be part of an inclusive team of caring professionals that helps all Kentucky families through a rewarding career in family support or social services. They have job openings in their county offices across the state and offer great benefits like hybrid work schedule, competitive salary, paid holidays, and many opportunities for training and promotions, plus state employee discounts. Go online to chfs.ky.gov and enter DCBS jobs in the search field. It's a new day at DCBS. Join them, an equal opportunity employer, MFD.
Filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. I will not be pushed. Filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own. I.
Don't you find that it's getting a little easier to be the individual you were born to be than maybe ever before? It's like, say, we've been following the leader for a while here, but it's getting us nowhere. As we carry on, we have an entire hour, at least the majority of it, with our guest tonight, first time on the program, Dr. Robert O. Young. Dr. Robert, just by way of an explanation, every once in a while we get a little computer hiccup. And sometimes these are externally induced, and on rare occasions, something happens internally here. But you had just asked, what do you think the largest, and I lost you.
What do you think the largest organ of the human body is?
I have always been told it is the skin. I heard that years and years ago. But that's the part
that is not the correct answer.
Okay,
the largest organ of the human body that contains a fluid called the interstitial fluid, an alkaline water at a pH of 8.4, dwarfs the skin.
And this constitutes an actual organ. This interstitial fluid. Okay, gotcha.
It is, and you can test these fluids by testing the urine. When you're testing the urine or the sweat, you're actually testing interstitial fluid coming from this organ, and that represents the context or the environment of your internal environment that surrounds every single cell of the human body. Yeah. You must be protected with this water. Just like when I told you the story about Dr. Alexis Carrel's chicken heart, or a 400-year-old bonsai tree that was protected by a concrete wall nursery from the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. What I'm suggesting in my work, my research and findings, that the key to a healthy and long life, as long as you decide to continue to manage these fluids, can only be found in the interstitial fluids of the interstitium. The environment that bathes every cell of the human body determines how long a cell will live, to even the DNA expression, and ultimately determining how long you will live. Genes do not determine your destiny. It is the interstitial fluid of the interstitium that determines your destiny, and it's under your self-control. We need to take back responsibility of our human body and manage that rather than putting it into doctors who are educated beyond their intelligence.
And wow, what a statement. I want to write that one down. Educated beyond their intelligence. And hence the creation of your book, the pH Miracle Series, that, by the way, folks, has sold over 10 million copies worldwide. And so let me get this off the table because I know that people are wondering about this. It'll take 10 seconds at the most. What about these alkaline water machines that people have been trying to sell? If you drink this alkaline water, it'll change your pH. Is there any value to these things at all?
Well, I have to re-describe the whole physiology of the stomach, and I'll try to do this quickly. I'll say it very clean, very concise. And the stomach, what you were taught about the stomach is completely wrong. The stomach does not digest food. The stomach is an organ of contribution, and what it does is it alkalizes your food. It also alkalizes the blood. It also protects the interstitial fluid. The stomach is on the forefront of immunity, not the white blood cells. The stomach controls the alkaline design of the body fluids. When you were born, you were 90% body fluid water at an ideal pH. That dropped, and we've taken for granted that ideal 60 to 70% is not ideal. We've just accepted that as a fact. The bottom line is when you drink a pH water at 9.5 at negative 450 millivolts minimum, you are supporting the stomach in its design to manage and neutralize acidic waste. One of those acids, which has no value whatsoever in the human body, is called hydrochloric acid. And you'll see it talked about. You'll actually see it printed on nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, HCl. They talk about enzymes. You need acids to break down food. Absolutely wrong. You need to chew your food longer because that is the only instrument in the human body that breaks down food. And if you can't chew your food to a liquid state or a pureed state, you have to buy a blender and blend it. And literally understand that if you swallow peanuts or corn or almonds or any piece of meat without chewing it, it will come out the same way, totally intact, out the other end.
Right.
Now, let me explain the chemistry of this really quickly because it's really important. There are cells that line the stomach. They're called cover cells. They take water, they take carbon dioxide, and they take salt. And they make out of that a compound called baking soda.
Right. Baking soda. Oh, my goodness. Okay. All right. We are all going to understand this between now and the end of the program. We still have the majority of the hour. This is a very brief intermission. So listen up. This is Caravan. We'll be right back.
Everybody go to ctmstore.com and get your NAC and your bromelain and destroy some spike proteins today.
I would like to smash them.
Go to ctmstore.com. Just click on Dr. Waterman's collection.
Pick them all up?
Absolutely.
You are failing miserably. 4 to 5 million people, 1.4 million unknown gotaways. We have no idea who those people are, what kind of security they risk. You're not giving me any stats whatsoever in terms of the number of people that are human trafficked, how many young girls are sex trafficked. You wouldn't even answer how many dead bodies, which is very well documented, at the border. Do you not care? Do you not have just an ounce of human compassion for what your open border policy, the type of human depredations it is causing? You just sit there looking with a blank look on your face. And you're saying it's a priority. If it's a priority, how did we let 4 to 5 million people in this country? A little more than 2 years. 4 to 5 million people. The population of almost 30 states. And you're saying this is a priority? Mr. Secretary, you ought to resign.
mic drop. Thanks, Vicki. It was a mic drop, all right. And I don't understand why the man is still there. All right, so yes, I have had baking soda in water administered to me on a couple of occasions as we carry on now, and by my
if you go to the emergency room.
Yeah,
if you go to the emergency room, they hook you up to an IV of saline solution and try to raise the salt. When you take a salt compound like sodium and potassium bicarbonate, you're doing exactly what the stomach does every second of your life. You are neutralizing acids that are produced by the body. For example, metabolism produces citric and lactic acid. Those either have to be eliminated quickly or they have to be neutralized. It's the stomach's responsibility to produce the sodium and potassium bicarbonate to push into the blood to maintain its alkaline design at 7.365 and then through hydrostatic pressure out into the interstitial fluid to maintain its pH at 8.4, that ocean body water. So when you drink alkaline water, good for you, because you're now neutralizing the poisons of sodium bicarbonate production. Very simply, in English, salt plus water plus carbon dioxide equals sodium bicarbonate and plus hydrochloric acid. It's the waste product, people. It is the waste product that the stomach, in order to make the alkalinity that it needs to preserve your life, it produces a waste called hydrochloric acid, which falls down into the gastric pits of the stomach, never even touching the food that you eat. It can't digest anything.
That's amazing. I wondered about that. When I would hear these things, I'd say, I sure would like to be looking through a plate glass window watching this process somehow that was really accurately depicted, because this makes no sense to me. I don't know why it didn't make sense to me, but it didn't. I just let it go. But I'm glad that you've given us that clarification. It's amazing. So high acidity, higher inflammation, generally, is that your finding?
Acid equals pain. Pain equals acid. You cannot separate those two. They're four-letter words. Acid is a four-letter word. Pain is a four-letter word. You neutralize that pain by moving to an alkalinarian lifestyle, hyperperfusing the body fluids without alkalinity. That's why I developed, compounds of sodium, potassium bicarbonate, so people could take 3 to 5 grams in a little bit of water, like 3 to 4 ounces. They could drink that, neutralize the hydrochloric acid in the stomach, and move on with their life. A runner knows this. The whole Gatorade phenomenon took place but to restore the electrolytes. And then you go to your doctor's office and he tells you to get off salt because it's causing hypertension. No, it's sugar. Sugar causes hypertension, not salt. You see, and so when you understand correctly that your body is alkaline by design but acidic by function, then you develop not chemicals, you develop nature based on nature supplements that will raise the alkalinity and protect the body fluids that then protect the body cells. And so when everybody's talking about spike protein, being, a microbiologist and a microscopist, spike protein is nothing more than the deterioration of the cell membrane due to a decline in the pH due to acidity. So when you maintain the alkaline design of your body fluids, testing your urine with pH hydrant paper, and people say, well, where do you get that? It's really simple. Just go to phmiracleproducts.com. It's simple to go there and get this stuff. And I have no financial relationship with it. It's just, how come I can't go to the local CVS store or to the health food store and pick up some pH strips so I can test my urine? And what about sodium and potassium bicarbonate in a formulation that can neutralize the acids in my stomach that's giving me, ulcers or, acid reflux? I mean, You know, it's the number 2 cause of symptomologies that leads to the number 1, which is headaches. It's all caused by acidity. So that's when I wrote the book, One Sickness, One Disease, One Treatment. The one sickness is the overacidification of the blood and then tissues due to a perverted or inverted way of living, eating, and thinking. And the one health is to restore the alkaline design of the body fluids, and I've been doing this for over 40 years, and it doesn't matter the severity of the condition, whether it's an allergy or if it's terminal cancer. You cannot treat the tissue. You cannot treat the tumor. You have to change the fluids in order to affect the cell. This is an environmental problem. It is not a cellular problem. If you want to keep your heart alive indefinitely and you want to provide health to all of the organs and tissues and glands, you have to, if you choose, maintain the alkaline design of the body fluids. But this is correct biochemistry. I've published on this in peer-reviewed journals. I've published books on this. It's really a new theory on understanding the physiology of the stomach because it's taught in schools all the way from grade school all the way up to medical school that we need acid in our stomach. Yes, if you want to stay sick. You don't need acid in your stomach. It's impossible to go into hyperalkalinity because it takes, give you an example, it takes 20 parts of sodium bicarbonate to neutralize 1 part carbonic acid to maintain a pH of 7.365. That is a 20 to 1 exponential. So you're looking at this 20 times more. You cannot. You're losing alkalinity every day. That's called aging. You don't get old. You mold. You ferment like the food in your refrigerator. The question is, how do you slow it down or how do you stop it? I am the only scientist other than my colleague that understands these principles and has successfully been able to reverse every single symptomology that doctors or medical system calls disease when they're treating symptomologies, not understanding the origin of all sickness and disease.
Absolutely amazing. Now, what about graphene presence?
Well, graphene... Hey, you remember when Mom told you not to play with that pencil because you might poke your brother in the skin and poison him with that graphite?
Right.
You know,
Lead poisoning.
Okay. Graphene is cytotoxic. Graphene is genotoxic. Graphene is magnetic. Why would they put graphene inside the COVID vaccines intentionally, not by accident? It's called graphinated hydrogel that was injected into 5.8 billion people to a lesser graded degree because the first inoculation, based on our research, 5% of these jibby jabs that were given contain graphinated hydrogel with polyethylene glycol, which is also a forever chemical. It's a poison. But they admitted to that. They didn't admit to the graphene, but they have come clean. They've come clean. Yes, so graphene was in the Moderna, graphene was in the AstraZeneca, graphene was in the Pfizer, graphene was in the AstraZeneca, graphene is in everything. It is the platform that they're using to deliver technology, nanotechnology and biosensors into the human body to connect human beings up to the Internet of Things and the Internet of bodies. We don't think this, we know this. And we have the research, we have the patents, we have all of it. And all you have to do is go to drrobertyoung.com and go to Scientific Posts. And by the time you get through reading 600 scientific papers that I've published in the last 3.5, 4 years, but a total of over 3,000, bottom line here is nefarious activities are going on, and I question that because I question everything. Why aren't they disclosing the contents of these inoculations and mandating people just go do it because we said so? Go get inoculated.
Now, how does it become graphene oxide? What's the problem there?
The graphene oxide is a form of graphene that is added or infused into the hydrogel as the carrier of this technology.
Oh, Lord. That doesn't sound good at all.
And in this technology, in other words, the hydrogel, it's a DoD DARPA hydrogel. Okay, they're the folks behind this. And so graphene oxide is in there with other compounds that we found, aluminum, we found ferric oxide, and Trypanosoma cruzi parasites. Just to make things even worse, let's get an African parasite in the eggs, and let's put that into the inoculation, and allow that to come alive and carry some of this graphene to the various points of the body. People say, well, wait a minute, time out. I thought these were called mRNA vaccines. Mm-hmm. What does mRNA have to do with it? Basically nothing. They had to call it something. The mRNA is the tagging nucleic acids, and I've been doing this for 40 years. It's the tagging nucleic acids to drive the contents of what you want to deliver to specific areas of the body using either animal or human nucleic materials or genetic material. So if I want to send graphene oxide to the ovaries or the heart of the brain, all I do is tag it with genetic nucleic acids of those particular organs, either from a source of an animal or human. And that's what the mRNA is. It is a targeted bioweapon that is being driven to the heart. So now we see excess myocarditis and pericarditis. We're seeing, sterility, lower testosterone, and, birth defects to miscarriages. And then we're seeing this technology going to the brain. And you go, well, wait a minute, why isn't everybody falling over dead from this? Why isn't everybody suffering from some sort of injury? The reason why is because in the first jibby jab that they gave, 5% contained the graphinated hydrogel polyethylene glycol with the mRNA driving it to be specific. It was a human international study to see how effective it was in relationship and the reactions to these poisonous toxins being injected into the human body. 5% contained this material is responsible for 90% of the injuries and deaths, and that's just a recent study that just came out. And I knew this in 2021, and I warned people about this, and in 2022, it was peer-reviewed, and I will provide a copy of my peer-reviewed paper, which has been seen by over 1,286,000 people, but it needs to be seen by billions. People need to see what actually happened and the nefarious activities that was promulgated on the human race without our knowledge and without our consent. God save us all.
Oh, my God, it's one thing when you suspect something, but it's quite another thing to have your deepest and gravest suspicions confirmed by somebody who has spent a lifetime studying these matters. We'll be back with Dr. Young.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference in your life. Today, you can verify your earnings, estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, manage your benefits, and even change your address, all from the comfort of your home. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
WZXI Lancaster, 1280 AM and simulcasting on 94.1 and 95.5.
USA News Update. Maryland Governor Wes Moore says that the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge after the collision with a container ship does not appear to be deliberate.
The preliminary investigation points to an accident. We haven't seen any credible evidence of a terrorist attack.
Prior to the collision, the ship's crew alerted authorities about a power complication. The Supreme Court is currently deliberating on a case with potential implications for access to the abortion pill mifepristone. Justices are examining an appeals court ruling that halted recent FDA revisions aimed at expanding the availability of the medication. Donald Trump has entered Bloomberg's list of the 500 wealthiest individuals globally. The recognition came on Tuesday following the public debut of Truth Social, the social media platform initiated by the former president, which secured him billions of dollars in stock options. John Schaefer, USA News.
Attention small business owners. This could be the most important 10-minute call you will ever make. You could recover up to $26,000 per employee today. And all you have to do is make one short 10-minute call to take your business up a notch or bounce back from these difficult couple of years. Omega Accounting Solutions can help you recover any payroll tax overpayments you made during the pandemic. You may even be eligible to receive up to $26,000 per employee. All it takes is a quick, easy, free 10-minute ERC consultation to determine if you qualify. Omega is the small business champion with teams dedicated to maximizing tax credits. They know their stuff so well that CPAs and payroll companies even turn to Omega for ERC tax guidance. Call 800-300-9ERC. That's 800-300-9ERC. 1-800-300-9ERC. Or visit OmegaTaxCredit.com.
Do you own an annuity, either fixed rate, indexed, or variable? Are you paying high fees and getting low returns? If so, Annuity General would like you to have this free book to learn the pitfalls and mistakes of buying an annuity. The Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers contains the little-known truths about annuities, like how to help reduce your fees and increase retirement income. And it's free. That's right, free. As a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report just for calling. We researched over 1,000 annuities and summarized rates and benefits from financially strong insurers. You get Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today. Hurry, supplies are limited. Call now.
800-273-7075. 800-273-7075. 800-273-7075. That's 800-273-7075.
Welcome to the Commonwealth Minute. Here's your host, Richard Nelson.
Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr recently introduced the Building Civic Bridges Act, or BCPA, to enable communities to foster civility and break down the walls of hostility. It's evident to all of us that our nation and Commonwealth are terribly divided. An NBC News poll recently revealed that 70% of Americans believe that our deep divisions will prevent us from addressing the major issues of the day. Congressman Barr said that our nation was founded on civic engagement and rigorous debate to achieve the ultimate good. The BCPA will help achieve this goal by supporting programs and research that aim at civic bridge building and community reconciliation. This bill is much needed in our divided nation, as dialogue and civility are good for all of us.
Find us on Facebook and Twitter at CPC4 Kentucky and on the web at CommonwealthPolicyCenter.org.
An astounding download of information from Dr. Robert O. Young. Doctor, let me ask you, it appears that the WEF agenda is completely anti-human. We're sitting here in a world stuffed with forever chemicals and graphene oxide and heavy metals and Lord knows what else is in the air. Are there some steps that individuals can take to actually protect themselves from these things without living in a bubble, literally, and detoxify themselves? Can this be done?
Absolutely. I mean, there is hope. There's on the way. It is here. The technology has been found. Part of it is I've already explained very simply with a product called Four Salts. It contains that sodium, potassium, and magnesium and calcium in the correct proportions to really begin hyperperfusing alkalinity. Not just in the stomach, but from the stomach into the blood, and from the blood into the interstitial fluid. And that is so significantly important that when you test your pH of your urine, that you keep it up between 8.4 and 9 in order to protect you from these forever chemicals, from this graphene, from these ferric oxides, from the aluminum oxides, whatever has been, being chemtrailed that now we're finding in our water, our food, in the blood of animals. They've been transfected by what they're eating. People need to realize you need to trust your farmer more than you trust your doctor, because, you can live without food for 40 days, but you can only live without water, and alkaline water at a 9 to 10.5 pH, is very critical. And yes, there is a water ionizer functionally structuring water that can help people. It's called the Watermark 1. It's an invention I made, over 20 years ago. But I tried to find something that would work without electricity, that worked under, vortexing and pressure, that would actually break up the water clustering and be able to hydrate the water and hydrate the human being and provide an alkaline environment and an electrical charge that was going to restore the body fluids to protect those cells that make up our organs and glands and tissues. So this science has been going on now for over 40 years. And, did we ever expect, I can't even imagine thinking in these terms, and yet we read the patents like U.S. Patent 11107588B2, August 31st, 2021, which connects graphene nanotechnology, the COVID vaccine, and 4 and 5G millimeter microwave wireless technologies, which interacts and stimulates the self-assembling of graphene into a platform that can receive and transmit, a biosensor. So we are finding biosensors in the human blood, in the body fluids. And we're going, oh, my heavens. I mean, even some that we have found have an X on it. Remember the disease to come, disease X?
Yes.
Here again, I can't say for certain, but, are we talking about the fact that people, human beings, have been biochipped? And I don't know if you mentioned the World Economic Forum, but a advisor to the Economic Forum, if I just can pull up his quote here, I think it's important to read because it is shocking. It is literally shocking, when we think about this. They're saying this right from the stage, right from the pulpit. They're declaring that human beings are now hackable.
Yeah, I remember
hackable. Do you remember that statement?
I do. Wasn't that Harari?
By Noah Harari.
Yeah.
He's an advisor to the president of that organization,
Schwab.
Charles Schwab. Yeah, Carl Schwab.
Klaus Schwab. Charles is the other guy. He does insurance, I think.
Yeah, I think that's true. He does insurance. We don't want to mix him up. But when we understand that there are compounds of nanotechnology now that have been structured in a way to literally demagnetize the graphene, demagnetize these biosensors, and this is why, believe it or not, you need to go down this rabbit hole. This is why human beings are emitting an IP address under the Wireless Body Area Network system that's talked about by the IEEE.
Yeah.
And the IEEE talks about this biosensing for wireless Medicare. But there's more to this. If they can test wirelessly, they can test your blood sugars, your blood pressure, your pulse. That sounds like a great idea. But they can also send a frequency which is called a kill shot. They have control of your body now. And guess what? The bottom line to this is it's horrific to even think of how many people have now been transfected with quantum dots, graphene quantum dots, graphene biochips that are now connected up to the Internet of humans. And they wonder why they feel so tired, because they pull energy from the body to operate. It's called piezoelectricity.
I can't believe it.
Energy that the cells run on, they're running on that, and they're literally harvesting human beings and their life force energy. And you can protect yourself. You can protect yourself by disconnecting this technology and removing it out of the body. You know what animals do? Animals go to a salt lake and they go to a clay lake. And when they go to the clay lake, they eat the clay in order to neutralize the poisons that are in their body. That's their medicine. There's a city in France, it's called Montmorillon. Montmorillon has a green clay. That green clay is adsorptive, means it attracts because of its surface charge, which is negative. It attracts it and pulls it in and holds it. It can't get out. It takes up aluminum. It takes forever chemicals. It literally, if they're in your body, it's like a magnet. It is picking up all these positive opposite polarity of that surface charge, and it's adsorbing it and then absorbing it. People say, well, doesn't that have lead in it? Well, yeah, because it's absorptive and absorptive. It's not coming out. You can analyze all the garbage that it collects, but you take it 3 to 5 grams in water. We call it terra firma clay. It's a Montmorillonite clay. You take it 3 times a day to neutralize this technology. But we went even further. We created the first zeolite Z. It is a multi-stage cage at a 1 atom size, 1 billionth of a meter, to literally attract with its surface charge to multi-dimensional zeolite in a colloidal system of marine plasma. So it's like our body fluids, salty water. And when that zeolite comes when it comes around or near graphene or lead or mercury or cesium-137 or PBSOS or PFOA, these synthetic chemicals, polyethylene glycol, polypropylene. And how do we know this? Because we measure we measure the blood and the interstitial fluids before they take this product, and we measure after. And we're seeing up to a 92% reduction in these types of compounds. That was a pilot study. We're now going into a full study covering age brackets from 25 all the way up to 85, testing vascular fluids, intercellular fluids, and the urine fluids, because here again, if we're testing the urine, we're testing the interstitial fluid and the vascular fluids, and we can see that's what's happening. Aluminum oxide's coming down, graphene oxide's coming down, and it's happening both in the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, because I don't like sharing bad news, but it doesn't matter whether you've been vaccinated or not. It's a high likelihood that, if you've been vaccinated, you contain more of these toxic chemicals, but the unvaccinated have been transfected by chemtrails, by food, by antibiotic soaps, that you wash your hands with. It contains, been eating Cheerios, to a whole bunch of other foods that contain graphene oxide. Now they're using graphene oxide to purify the water to take out the forever chemicals or the nano and microplastics. And now you exchange nano and microplastics for nano and micro graphene oxide.
Let me ask you something, Doctor. I got to get this off my chest real quick, and I want to make it quick because I'm watching the clock real closely. We need another hour. I hope we get one in the not-too-distant future. This is fascinating. I suspected that this whole COVID-19 thing was caused by parasites, but what I'm taking from your speeches tonight is that the reason they didn't want us to take, the reason that ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine were vilified is that if taken before the vaccine, it would act as a prophylactic, and after the vaccine, it would kill the African parasite that was somehow made its way into the vaccine. Is that close or not? If it's not, I'll take a trim.
That's part of it, yeah. Because I'm finding not only trypanosoma parasites, I'm also finding malaria parasites in the blood in the U.S. Americans. Yes. Guess what? Africa has been transported to the United States. So what we're seeing is what is called microfilariae, which is a malaria-type parasite, that and Trypanosoma cruzi and prusae parasites. But that was just because they're kind of like boats, they pick up barnacles of graphene oxide and transport those to all different places of the body. So it's a transport system, But what are they transporting? They're transporting graphene oxide. Why are they transporting graphinated hydrogel to different parts of the body? To connect humans to the Internet of Things. And how do they do that? Through the technology of 4G and 5G. Well, wait a minute. Can humans withstand a frequency that connects them that's equal to the microwave oven at 2.4 gigahertz, that when it's amplified in the body by 5G, it goes from gigahertz up to terahertz. And it's unsurvivable. So what is causing the pathological blood clots is the fact that people are being exposed to the electromagnetic fields of 4G, 4G plus, and 5G. They've been graphinated. That's a magnetic material that attracts the frequencies to the human body that then causes cellular breakdown. The cellular breakdown, they flip the charge, so cells generally, healthy cells have a negative charge, so they would repel. But what happens is that changes, they become positive charge, they start clotting together. So what happens with this technology that they've implanted into our bodies, it's causing blood clots. So one of the most important people, listen to me, one of the most important tests that you need to do when you go to your medical doctor is have him do a D-dimer test to see if you are in any form or shape in pathological blood coagulation, because everyone is sensitive to frequency. When I did my double-blind study in 1998, we were studying the effects of electromagnetic fields on the human biofield at 50 to 100 hertz. We're past that. We've gone past megahertz. We're into gigahertz. We're going to terahertz. No one can survive this technology. You have to protect yourself. And the way you protect yourself is you deactivate, demagnify. You cannot destroy this. Graphene is 100 times stronger than steel. You cannot destroy this. You have to neutralize it. You have to demagnetize it. That's why we created the products we created. And I did that separately because I'm the scientist. I'm not the marketing guy of this. I said, this is what we need to do. We need a solution to the pollution. This is how we do it. And guess what? In our pilot study, we found that it works, that it demagnetizes and changes the whole scope of the human body. People start getting their energy back. People start feeling better. They start sleeping better. They start dreaming better. All of this happens because you're restoring the alkaline design of the body. That's the key, folks. If you will give it a try, within a matter of days, you will experience the difference. I don't think this. I know this. You know, check out phmiracleproducts.com. Check out drrobertyoung.com. This is about saving the whole of humanity. This is not about money. So I want to offer for free to anyone that hears my voice, if you write, when you go to drrobertyoung.com, and my panel will come up, just put your name and your email address, and I will send you the information you need at no cost. These are scientific articles. I will send you the research that we did in 2021, discovering the non-disclosed ingredients in these vaccinations. It has been found. We know that the nefarious actors in this, we know who they are. We know who the companies are. You do too. We have the evidence to prove that. And I'm not just the only one in the world that has done this. There's others, scientists in other places around. They picked up doing the same study and validated the same thing. This is not some fairy tale. You are now, for the first time, hearing the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And from my mouth to God's ears, this is the truth. If you want to save your life and change your life, if you want to save our future, which is our children, you need to understand the new biology, the new chemistry. You need to understand how to take personal charge of your body. You have a sovereign right. You need the education, not medication. You need the education, not vaccination. You need to be empowered with this intelligence so you can be free from the bondage of medical tyranny.
I just wanted that to sink in. This is absolutely, it's beyond outrageous. It's absolutely abominable what they have done, and they have done it. And who did it? I really hope that the 21st century gangster squad already knows all of the people who need to be arrested for this. The International Court of Justice, forget about it. The International Criminal Court, forget about it. No, I think state courts with real hardcore judges. This was a deliberate mass murder scheme from beginning to present. It's still going on now. This is absolutely insane.
They're trying to call people into cities, 15-minute cities, that have this technology, and this technology is unsurvivable. It will be a literal hell, a prison. And I know them by name. I'm not going to state who they are. They knew who they are, but if you want to get away from this, and we've done the studies, excess mortality is taking place in the big cities. When you go out to the suburbs, you get away from this technology. Yes, it's still there, but it's limited. The excess mortality, the excess, turbo cancers, the diabetes, the passing out, the pathological blood, it's taking place where this technology exists. And it has to come down.
They knew what they were doing from the beginning, didn't they?
They did. That's why they quarantined us in our homes. They were working 24/7 to put up this matrix.
Let me ask you this: This is equally pollution centric, and that is, I saw an article recently where some scientists are saying to get all these zillions of nanoparticles of plastic that you've been drinking forever out of your water, all you have to do is boil it. And I thought, I wonder, what about the plastic component?
Well, that is. There are scientists that are suggesting you need to boil that in order to boil out the plastics. And, I haven't gone down that road yet. You know, there are filtration systems that take out the nanoplastics, that take out the nanographene, and can filtrate this out. There are filter systems that can do this. Boiling may be, I say may be, a way to get out the plastics, but they're using graphene oxide in the municipalities, you know, for our water to detox out from the micro and nanoplastics. So what you end up with is you end up with graphene in the water, and that's what we're finding.
There you go.
And then from the water, it's being watered on our plants, and now we're seeing graphene in our plants and the cats and the dogs and all the animals. So everything I'm saying applies to animals. They've been transfected. Not injected, but transfected through the air, through the water, through the food. And so you have to question everything, and you have to protect these beautiful pets that we have. I don't even want to call them pets. These family members that we have.
Yes.
That we love and care for. They need this as much as you need this. And I say that from my heart. I say that from my heart. And I say it with love. Because I care about my brothers and sisters, and I care about this planet, and I love God more than I love the inventions of men.
Beautifully stated. All right, now, we want everybody to go to your website, and that's going to be drrobertyoung.com, drrobertyoung.com. And you also mentioned phmiracleproducts.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. Absolutely. You know, that's where you're going to find the solutions to the pollutions.
Dr. Young, I hope you'll come back on the program sooner than later, sir. It's been a real honor and a disturbing, but nonetheless pleasure to speak with you tonight. Thank you very much, and God bless you and all those you love.
John, thank you for having me on. God bless you and your family and all your loved ones, and God bless humanity, all of our brothers and sisters. I know many of you are suffering. The solutions to the pollutions are here.
God bless you, everyone. And good night.
This is Project Command. Stand by power transfer. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,